How are you?
I am super, thanks for asking. You know, there's no end of loonies in the world, but do so many of them have to run countries? Crazy Iranian Premier Mahmoud Ahmadinejad trundled a Royal Navy boat through Tehran, jacked up on a flatbed lorry as a spoil of war. They captured the boat in 2004 when our brave boys were busy listening to their iPods or some such thing, and embarrassed Britain by parading the tars on television before releasing them. But they kept the boat. And like the weird man next door into whose garden you've kicked your ball, Mahmoud won't give it back. "Oh, please, mister," we said, to no avail, as he can't hear us above the sound of helter-skelter going on in his brain, so tensions mount. But not as much as they're mounting in Moscow, as crazy Russian Premier Vlad the Insaner sent 4 Russian bombers towards the American aircraft carrier the USS Nimitz as it neared Japan. 2 of the Tupolev planes violated Japanese airspace, while the other 2 flew directly at the ship and buzzed it, in an escalation of violent behaviour not seen since the Cold War. Barack Obama may be the next president of the United States, but he might be elected chief of a smouldering pile of radioactive ashes if this goes on. Whoopee! We're all going to die. But at least our wounds are tended in hospital by nurses who will have a smile glued to their faces. If the government has anything to do with it, they just aren't cheery enough with patients, apparently. Hard to believe, really, being surrounded by demanding sick people all day. What's not to smile about? So there'll be government targets. Angles of smiling will be measured. Teeth on show will be counted. Crinkliness of eyes will be gauged. Fines will be levied. Nurses will be cajoled. We must not get left behind in the charms race. Oh, slight groaning all round. They did actually say this. Nurses must smile more. It's going to be the law. Nurses are being sent on training courses to encourage them to smile at patients. Did you hear about this? They will also be banned from discussing their personal lives outside break times. All of that. And she said, and I said, and she said, and I said, and oh, all of that. They must also not talk too loudly at night when patients are trying to sleep. And they will also be told not to say, "I'll be back in a minute," to avoid patients becoming frustrated if they fail to return. It follows a report from Downing Street last year which said that nurses should smile more to show patients that they care about them. You know, that they don't actually should... It's not that they should care more, it's that they should smile more to make it seem like they care more. But, you know, if you're on a hospital bed, on a trolley, you do feel like you want to have somebody, you know, who appears to care, who looks at you rather than sort of over you. I noticed this when I was on, you know, having my near-death experience. I don't talk about it much. And I was sitting in a mixed ward because it was, you know, it was like it was an emergency.
Warning! Warning!
And the first thing that I noticed was that there wasn't any British nurses, by which I mean at all. No one spoke English. How they can minister to you, I suppose, maybe everyone has, you know, everybody in Europe has got Latin as the you know, where the language derivates. Did I get that sentence right? No. From which their language derivates. Is that right? No. I'll just move on. But there were no English people there. There was, you know, no end of people from countries that I couldn't determine. There was Australians, and I heard South Africans, and people whose first language wasn't English, but there was no English nurses. And I was there for about 3 days. I didn't hear an English accent at all. What's that? Smiling, and worse than the nurses, of course, were the doctors, the consultants, when they came round. If you go and see them privately, oh, they're no end of smiles, bouncing out of their little office to meet you in the waiting room. They are. Lots of eye contact, shake of the hands, how are you feeling? You know, all of that. Not remotely interested on the NHS. Next! So this follows a report from Downing Street last year which said that nurses should smile more and show parents that they care about them. Stockport's Hospital Deputy Director of Nursing, Judith, said patients and their families were fed up with nurses saying, "Sorry, that's not my patient." Really? They say that? Yeah. Yeah, nothing to do with me. Dying, are you? Well, not on my watch. Like cabbies who won't go south of the river. She told Nursing Standard magazine, it's one of my favourites, that staff had denied the allegations at first, but once evidence was provided, nurses worked hard on making improvements. Patients' group said action was needed to address a perceived decline in the standard of nursing since the days when Matron ruled the wards with a rod of iron. I didn't know Matron from the Carry On films. Giant. Huge. Patients' group said action was needed to address a perceived decline in the standard of nursing since the days when... I read that bit. I always do that. Moments after getting swept away and I'm tied somewhere else, I come back and I read the same thing over again. I must have, like, a mental problem. No, Nick, you don't have a mental problem. Really, no help at all. Many claim to be too busy to feed elderly patients properly, resulting in malnutrition, while others refuse to carry out cleaning tasks. That is staggering, actually. You can go in a hospital and you can come out malnourished. Like you aren't eating. In hospital. Don't you find that astonishing? Am I alone here?
Because the food is really bad, isn't it?
Well, that's got nothing to do with it. You're sick, you've got to eat. I mean, how bad is it? I've eaten hospital food. I can't say I like it, but you eat it, because you have no choice. Unless you're Michael Willer, and you get it bust in from the ivy. The training course that they're going to go on has reawakened memories of an initiative by Tony Blair during his final months of power. I said, Tony Blair... How quickly the tide turns. It only took 10 years. Last March, ministers discussed a proposal to encourage doctors and nurses to smile more. But it was attacked by the Royal College of Nursing, which said it was insulting to suggest that nurses didn't smile enough. Spokesman Allison said, I actually find this quite offensive. I'm sure every nurse in the NHS would find it offensive. It just shows that Whitehall is completely detached from the harsh reality of healthcare. The plan was also ridiculed by opposition parties. Of course, that's what they're there for. Liberal Democrat health spokesman Norman says Labour was trying to impose the values of McDonald's on the NHS. Now, come on, nurses, smile more. You've got to have a laugh, ain't you? And take your tops off while you're doing it. Of course, everybody's really aggravated about this mosquito thing, and I don't know what the problem is. I mean, is it Liberty that's getting on all hot under the collar about the mosquito thing?
Are you supposed to not be able to hear it if you're over 25?
That's right.
Because they had, I was watching it on the news this morning, and they had a clip of it, and I don't know if I was supposed to be able to hear it or not.
Well, I'm sure if they had it on the news and they were putting a sound effect on, that it wasn't the actual thing that you were hearing, it was the sound effect of what it might sound if you were young enough to hear it.
Right, oh.
I watched that programme this morning. That bloke's got to go. Like, I'm not kidding. He's just got to go. He's got to be the most annoying man on television. All right, let's make a list. Who's the most annoying man on television? 0845 6060 973. My vote is that bloke who's on the breakfast news in the morning. He thinks he's a comedian. You're not funny. Stop cracking jokes. I really mean it. And the little two-way thing that the cute little thing that he's got with the financial reporter. Oh, every morning makes me want to kill myself. They think they're like Little and Large in there. They're not. They're Hale and Pace.
Am I going to hear one morning about BBC Breakfast News anchor person sniped?
Yes.
After coming out.
Well, I'm going to have to take the law into my own hands, yeah. I mean, if they're not going to do it for me, then I'm going to have to do it for myself. Because, you know, every now and again you switch on to Sky, which, bizarrely, is the more intelligent news service. Isn't that weird? Sky! I mean, if you'd said that 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, that Sky would be presenting a more adult and grown-up news service than the BBC, you get laughed out the house. But they are. Breakfast news with, what's that fat bloke called?
Eamon Holmes?
Eamon Holmes, yeah, that's right, yeah. With Eamon Holmes. I mean, Eamon Holmes is good because he's, you know, he does jolly and charming and amusing when it's required, but not all the time, like we're tuning into a comedy show. That guy on the BBC Breakfast News is just, it's absolutely painful. He is he has the impression that he's a comic great. That things that he says that make him laugh are also amusing to everybody else. They're not.
Does he laugh at his own jokes all the time?
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
And what does his co-host do? Does she just kind of...
I don't know. I'm
go along with it?
I'm too busy mentally and sometimes physically screaming at him to notice whoever's sitting next to him. I mean, they must be holding their heads in their hands because they came into the game as journalists, not some like an excuse for a comic. It's just awful. And how the BBC can sit there and just watch this go out on the air without doing something about it.
They said it has something to do on comic relief.
Well, it would be a relief all round if he dropped the comedy. Seriously. No, I really mean that. So who is the most annoying man on television? I can't remember. I can never remember his name. I think I had a mental block on it. But he's the guy that's on in the morning, slightly podgy guy, who always has this cute little two-way joshing thing with the other podgy guy, the financial, like they're dating or have been married for 20 years. Oh, they're giggling, and it just makes me want to kill myself. No, I'll change that. It makes me want to kill them.
Stop watching it. You're torturing yourself.
I know, yeah. Well, I do it to myself, yeah.
Why don't you just switch over to Al Jazeera or something?
Al Jazeera is bizarrely an excellent news service.
Exactly.
And it doesn't make you a traitor to say that. It is. It's
BBC trained, isn't it?
Oh, I've got no idea. Yeah. But they're all very good. Fox, that's a step too far to the right for me. I mean, those people are crazy. Mm-hmm. But there's a few things in between. But you do keep settling back on the BBC because these other channels go to ads. And when the ads are playing and I'm just, trying to eat my porridge, then I'll go back to the Beeb and there he is, giggling again. Oh, it's just so painful. He shouldn't be on the BBC. He should be, I don't know, buried in concrete under a bridge somewhere.
Can you write a points of view or something?
Yeah, I'll do that straight away, yeah. It's 7:45. LBC Travel with Amanda Redmond.
Looking at big problems still on the M25.
Thank you.
0845 6060 973. So before you steered me onto that minor rant, I was starting to talk about this mosquito teen repellent, whichever everyone's got their hands thrown up in the air and they're all freaking out about it. And I've got no idea why. Here's the story. Children's campaigners today called for a banning of a high-pitched sound device used to disperse unruly teenagers. The £500 gadget, known as a mosquito, emits an ultrasonic whine, as do most teenagers. That can be heard only by those under 25. More than 3,500 have been installed by shops and councils across the country as a means of dispersing gangs of youths. But Sir Al Ainsley Green, the Children's Commissioner for England, says that many young people have been deeply affected by the deterrents. And deeply affected is in inverted commas. No, they haven't. They just move away. These devices are this is him speaking. These devices are indiscriminate and target all children and young people, including babies. Babies. Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of babies hanging around shop doorways. They're a menace. They'll stab you with their dummies. It affects these people regardless of whether they're behaving or misbehaving. The use of measures such as these are simply demonising children and young people, creating a dangerous and widening divide between the young and the old. No, that's not demonising young people. It's the actions of young people who demonise young people. Once again, nobody's taking responsibility for their actions anymore. Oh, it ain't my fault. I ain't done nothing. Shami Chakrabarti, crazy name, very sensible woman, director of pressure group Liberty, said, the device had no place in Britain. What type of society uses a low-level sonic weapon on its children? Imagine, well, I'll tell you what type of society, a society that's frightened about children. But with very good reason. Pick up a paper, Shami. See, imagine the outcry if the device was introduced to cause blanket discomfort to people of one race or gender, rather than to our kids. Well, I don't know, televised football causes massive discomfort to women. Nobody's moaning about that, are they? The mosquito was invented by Howard Stapleton, for whom we should be given a large round of applause. He's a former British aerospace engineer. He was driven to act after his daughter was intimidated by a gang of boys hanging about outside shops. Home Secretary Jackie says that she backs the use of this device as a way of tackling yob culture. Spokesman for the local government association said councils use an array of techniques to disperse groups of youths from specific areas. These include talking CCTV. That's just so silly. Excuse me, like there'd be a disembodied voice coming from a lamppost somewhere, and that's going to have any effect on anybody.
How long till board operators, CCTV operators, start putting stuff on YouTube of them shouting abuse at youths from lampposts?
Yeah. It would be an abuse race, wouldn't it? Quickly start a fight.
I wouldn't be able to resist it. I wouldn't care if I got fired. It'd be great.
David Letterman in the States is a talk show host in America. He fixes hose pipes which squirt water at passers-by as he's shouting at them from work. Maybe we should think about that. Or would that be abusing their human rights too? They also have what is called the Manilow method of dispersal, where either opera, classical, or unfashionable pop music is played. I don't know, a lot of people have a go at Barry Manilow, but I think he's actually really cool. Now, stop laughing at me, Raj. I mean it. And it's not just because I'm, fast approaching my
age.
dotage. Yes, I'll never be that age. But there's good things about Barry Manilow's music. There really is. And I'm serious about that. I'm not having a laugh.
He is very nice. I met him once.
Did you?
Yeah, I engineered an interview with him. And it was the last one of the day before he had to catch a plane back to the States.
Yeah.
And my little recorder wouldn't work for about 15 minutes, and I was fumbling, trying to get it to work, and he was very patient. He just sat there and said, "No, that's fine, that's fine." And then he left us in his hotel room with full mini bar and all this kind of stuff, and we thought,
wow.
Shall we raid it and throw the TV out the window? But no.
Well, isn't that great? I mean, if you'd held up, I don't know, Frank Sinatra, for instance, you'd be sleeping with the fishes right now.
Exactly.
These include, the Barry Manilow man. Anecdotal evidence has shown that there are some children who record the mosquito sound on their mobile phone so that they can hear the phone ring without attracting the attention of the teacher. See? They love it. I don't understand what the problem is. Do you, Phil?
No, I don't, is the answer. Nick, hi.
Yes, Phil.
Yeah, the thing that's really aggravates me about this story is what the Liberty people who Quango at the First Order, I don't know who elected them, all the rest of it.
I don't think they're a Quango, are they? They're a charity, surely. Aren't they? Liberty?
It just drives me mad the way BBC News pander to whatever Liberty say.
She does get on TV a lot, yeah, there's no doubt about that. Every time something like this comes up, we must know what Liberty says about it.
Yeah.
And I thought that Liberty was all about freeing prisoners of conscience abroad, not standing up for the rights of hoolies hanging around the entrance to Spa.
Exactly. You're trying to get people to buy booze for them and all the rest.
Yeah, or mister.
But, that I could go off forever about that, but the thing that they don't seem to understand, Liberty or whatever, if you're temporarily passing through that area,
yeah,
i.e. from the car park into the shop,
yes,
you even if you have got perfect hearing, you might hear a whistle or whatever.
Yeah.
For a couple of seconds.
That's right, as you pass by, no problemo. In much the same way that a police siren, as it passes you by, is uncomfortable. You wouldn't want to live with it in your flat, but you can stand it as it goes by.
And so all it's trying to deter is that the only people who hang around these sort of facades are these basically thugs and charity collectors. But they're probably too old to hear it anyway.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
So
they're not necessarily thugs. Okay, let's not paint them all the same with the same brush. Yeah. But they are irritating to shopkeepers because they put other people off going in. If you, for instance, had a little shop and it was your only means of income and you spent your whole life, putting this little shop together, you sold, exquisite knickknacks, Phil. Can you imagine that for a moment?
I can indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And so, suddenly, people aren't coming into your store anymore, and your profits are diving through the floor because some kids are hanging around outside and they got their hoods up, and they got a bandana up over their nose, so they look like they were about to stage a raid, and they're just larking about and smoking crack and eating glue or whatever it is they do. So yummy.
Pure heroin.
Yeah.
All that.
Oh, and, or they might not be stoned at all. They might just be, talking about trainers or whatever. I don't care. But they're annoying because they're putting other people off from coming in your shop. They are reducing your ability to put food on your table for your family. Yeah. Now, you can't tell me that there's a good reason for not dispersing them gently. I mean, I'm not saying come out with literally all barrels blazing, but just put a little irritant out there. And I just really don't see the problem, because if they're not hanging about outside, then they're not going to be inconvenienced by this, are they?
Yeah, and it just the thing is, Nick, for these liberals to come out with it harms their human rights.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, that just dilutes the meaning of human rights.
Yes, I think that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. It makes Shalawara, who? Charmi Chakrabarti.
Makes her famous.
It makes her famous right enough, but it makes everything else she says on other issues seem a bit daft. She's going on TV and being quoted in print at sticking up for kids who hang around outside Nettle.
Yeah.
Nettle? Netto.
Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever it is. I don't know. M&S. Yeah.
Other stores are available.
That's right, yeah. It just makes it makes Liberty look a bit silly, really.
Article.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Nick, it's not like people in this country get nicked by the police and then they get beaten with truncheons in prison and, regularly and tortured and all the rest of it.
No.
That is human rights.
Yeah. That's what I thought Liberty was all about.
To mildly inconvenience a hoodie with what sounds like tinnitus to a lot of people is suddenly infringing their... It's just absolutely dummy. I don't know.
It's mystifying. And this Sir Al Double Barrel, the Children's Commissioner for England, I wasn't even aware there was such a thing.
No.
I mean, I've never heard of this guy before. Maybe that's one of the reasons why he's piped up now. That is honestly the reason why a lot of politicians that you never heard of are all hot under the collar on issues that not many people are bothered about. It's because they get their name in the paper. For much the same reason that they stand up at Prime Minister's questions and say, if it'll be a Labour minister, he'll say, I'd just like to wonder if the Prime Minister does indeed think that he is the world's most fabulous human being. Well, I'd like to thank my honourable friend for, it's just to get your face on TV.
And Nick, the funny thing is, I Googled this owl.
Oh, that's disgusting. What?
And I Googled,
right, yeah.
Owl, and he said, on his website, he says he was elected 25 children.
He was what?
I know, it's balmy.
No, we missed that. You got...
sorry, my phone.
Yeah.
He was elected by 25 children.
What does that mean?
I'd love to know. And I was trying to follow the links, and it just got to a dead end. And it's an absolute made-up farce, it's
right.
Liberal, as far as I'm concerned, it's just, it's meaningless.
Yeah. Okay, listen, thanks, Phil. This will perhaps run and run, who knows. This is LBC 97.3, 8 o'clock.
Affirmative.
Nick Farrar is back on tomorrow morning, and on the show he's going to be talking about, in the aftermath of the Gary Newlove case, would you intervene to stop a crime? Can global warming really be good for you? Is means-tested care for the elderly a fair system? And why are EU regulations grounding a venerable World War II plane? That's some of the things that Nick will be talking about as he tackles the topics of the day tomorrow on LBC from 7 a.m. Catford. Hello, Trixie.
Hi there.
Trixie.
I initially called up about the nurses.
Yeah.
So, can we just go back a little bit?
Right, this is about nurses who are being instructed to learn how to smile.
Yeah. Now, as you commented, there are loads of foreign nurses there now, but of course they're not being paid enough in this country, so our nurses are going off to the private sector, and of course we're bringing in nurses from other countries. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, or we're hiring the very same nurses who've gone to the private sector.
Yes.
Way more than they would have been paid.
Yes.
But the whole world's gone crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's true that nurses don't smile as much as patients would like. I was in hospital a few years ago, and it was a grim experience.
Well, the thing is, they're being asked to care, but you have to remove yourself. I would imagine, being a healthcare professional, to remove yourself because you're being surrounded by people dying all the time, and you can't actually care, as you wouldn't be able to do your job.
Well, exactly.
Kind of like this job. Like, I don't care.
No, I've just noticed that now. Let me get my point in.
Yeah.
If they want nurses to start smiling and they want to send them on courses, they're going to have to give them some bonuses, for heaven's sakes.
That's not going to work.
Yes, it will. Incentives, financial incentives, for goodness sakes.
What's incentives to smile?
The government thinks it's a vocation. Nursing should not be just a vocation.
Yeah.
Nursing should be a profession. A decent profession that gets treated like a decent profession.
Yeah, but giving people more money is not going to make them smile. It just won't.
I tell you something, Nick, it goes a long way to making people happy. If they can pay their rent,
well, yes,
if they can buy their flat,
that's right. Yeah.
They will be smiling, or they will have the incentive to smile.
You're right. It might remove some reasons to be miserable, but it won't actually make... I mean, look at Roman Abramovich. When have you ever seen that guy smile? He's always miserable.
Well,
he's one of the richest men on the planet.
Yes, but he's not a nurse, is he? Anyway... Look, they're going to be facing life, death, etc., all the time, illness, etc. Mm-hmm. But to actually smile occasionally when it's not a life or death situation would be rather nice, particularly with the very elderly, because the very elderly sometimes are left in hospitals because they can't go home. There are no places for them in the nursing homes. It's a catch-22 situation. And so you've got these auxiliaries going around, with their faces down to their feet. I'm quite sure if they were paid a little bit more to actually cheer the patients up, it would lighten the load on the ward.
I agree they should get paid more, but I don't think that would make the slightest bit of difference as to how they actually interact. I think there seems to be a problem with... I'd probably do it myself. If I was surrounded by people who were dying all the time, then I wouldn't want to get involved either. But I think that's what they actually mean. Rather than smile, it's like a little bit of eye contact and a little bit of, like a nice bedside manner, rather than just treating you like a piece of meat.
Well,
Trixie, I'm tired of being treated like a piece of meat.
I bet you are. Well, maybe they should. Maybe the government should sort of set these little mosquitoes around the hospital, so when they don't smile, it's... Perhaps that's going a little bit
too far, yeah.
I think mosquitoes are a brilliant idea. But
why are people getting upset about that? And those kids on the on the news, what were they saying? Oh, when people go past the shop, why should they be abused in this manner? Well, come off it. You're walking by. It's like 5 seconds.
Yes,
so
exactly.
What?
And it's no worse than the BBC Two signal many years ago. It had this...
Yeah, that's right.
BBC Two set out this horrible effect when we were young.
Like a white noise.
When we were able to hear it. Mm-hmm. It's terrible, isn't it? But when it did send out this signal, I had to put cotton wool in my ears. It was actually unbearable sometimes. I had to leave the room. Now, if they do have children, little babies in the shop, for example, and the babies are getting distressed, and for goodness sakes, they'll turn it off.
Yeah, that's right.
Surely.
I mean, the baby will be crying its eyes out, which is more irritating.
Well, there you go. But you see, the shopkeepers are going to have to use discretion, and if they've got a hardcore of people outside that shop, first of all, the police should be called in.
Well, they're not going to do anything, are they?
Well, of course they're not, but they should. But the auxiliary police, then
the police, just because people are hanging about. I mean, if they're lobbing bricks through the window, yes, but not just hanging about. But the key is that if a shopkeeper puts it outside, and and the other argument is, well, of course, the teenagers won't go in there, and then you'll lose business. Well, that's up to him.
Well, if he knows, if there is a specific group, and he knows that they've been causing trouble, then he can, and he recognises them, and all he has to do is to buzz them, literally, and they will go. Or play Barry Manilow music, even though you like him, or Cliff Richard music.
Well, let's not get carried away, Trixie. Okay.
Now, that would be actually quite good.
Yeah, really annoying, yeah.
Or,
my ears are starting to bleed.
Are they?
Thanks, Trixie.
You're welcome.
Cheers, my dear.
Bye.
Yeah. I don't know. I used to be a Guardian reading Bleeding Heart liberal, and now I've become a ranting Nazi. That's not true. No, Nick, you haven't become a Nazi. Come on, Raj, help me out here.
I've got nothing to say to that, I'm afraid.
Finchley, hello, Patsy.
Yes, good evening to you.
Patsy.
Yeah, I'm a bit annoyed with you, actually.
No.
I am. Well, I'm very annoyed with you.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, I haven't finished yet, right? You are slagging off the poor NHS nurses, right?
Was I?
What do you mean, were you? What did you just say?
Oh, I said loads of things. I don't think I slagged nurses off.
No, hang on. Don't go down on me like that.
Excuse
I am
me?
saying to you, you have just slagged off National Health nurses. I am not a nurse. I'm nothing to do with the medical profession.
Right.
I've just come out of hospital yesterday. Okay?
Yeah, well, let me guess. They treated you... They were wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all the
You got
doctors.
that one right. Mhm.
Right? Of course they've got faults. And the reason they've got faults, they're not bloody paid enough. Half of them are working 2 shifts.
That's not... Okay, first of all, I didn't slag off... First of all, hang on a minute, Patsy. I didn't slag off nurses.
You did?
No, well, what did I say?
You said they don't smile at anybody.
No, well, this is not me saying that. This is the government.
Well, yeah, but why are you repeating it if you don't believe it?
Because it's in the blooming paper.
I don't care. The government don't pay them enough in the first place.
Well, not paying them enough is neither here nor there. You could say that they knew how much they were going to get paid when they went into the job.
Yeah, but hang on. They're very good at awarding themselves £60,000.
Well, that's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant.
It is irrelevant.
It is not.
It is.
It's not. That money should have gone into the National Health Service.
That would have made no difference. That would have been a tiny drop in an ocean.
I don't care. At least it would give them another tenner a week. I don't
Well, it wouldn't have given them a tenner a week. It probably wouldn't have given them a penny a week.
Right, so you're supporting the MPs, the greedy buggers are taking all the money.
Well, I don't know how you got that from what I just said.
No, but you're quoting the papers, right? What I'm saying to you is, all the time any hospital I've been in, and I haven't been in many hospitals except for this particular occasion, I have had to go for treatment for leg injuries, etc.
Right.
I have only been treated. The girls have been pleasant, smiling, right? And I think,
well, what did you expect, that they would just turf you out? They're nurses.
I didn't say that.
Well, it's a daft thing to say, Patsy, that they were pleasant. Well, of course they are. They're nurses.
Well, you just said they never smiled at anybody.
I'm saying the government is suggesting that nurses learn how to smile more.
Well, I'll tell you what. Whoever wrote... What paper was that in?
Oh, it's in the Daily Mail.
Oh, well, that says it.
Oh,
anyway.
well, I know.
No more.
Notorious they are.
The journalistic standard and that is out the window.
Well, they're just reporting the facts, ma'am.
And I will ring this man up, whoever he is.
Okay.
And I'll with you, and you can go with him, and I'll come with you.
Yeah.
You listening?
Well, kind of.
Well, you can listen.
I'll be switching off any moment now. Yeah.
I would take him and you together and into the local hospital that I just come from in Barnet, right? And you can work there for the day and see how you like it.
I wouldn't like it.
Well, that's tough then, isn't it? So you don't mind people running around when you're not well.
Yeah. My bedside manner is rubbish, Patsy. People would check themselves out when I approached.
Well, I wouldn't. I would say, well, I'm offering you.
Yeah.
I will go with you to a hospital, right? And I'll stand with you.
Yeah. I'm absolutely not going to do that.
Why?
Because I don't want to.
Why not?
Well, first of all, I don't want to meet you because you sound aggressive and you're frightening me.
I'm not aggressive.
No.
No, I'm actually a very nice person.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, but you see, you're backing down. You're very good at opening your mouth.
Yeah.
But you're not good at backing it up.
Backing what up?
Whatever your comments.
Well, I don't want to...
Well, don't you research it properly?
Research what properly?
Whatever you're speaking about on the radio.
Patsy, are you fully well? I mean, I know they released you, but is everything okay?
No, but I don't think you are.
Well, she's got a good point there.
What I suggest you do is you suggest your services to either some kind of voluntary...
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Why?
Because I don't want
to. Are you
scared
of hospitals or something?
Well, who isn't? You die in hospitals.
So you could die, you get hit by a 52 bus.
Well, yeah, that's true, but then that's why I look both ways. Patsy, this conversation is insane. Are you aware of this?
No.
Oh, right. Well, I'll send you a transcript in the post. All right. I mean, just really. First of all, I didn't slag nurses off. I'm just repeating what the government said. And they've got a point. Because I was in hospital just recently that they weren't smiling and the eye contact isn't made and they just kind of treat you like you're a number. Which doesn't help you getting well. And no end of stories about, oh, I was just in hospital and they were all angels is going to change the facts, ma'am. Of course they treated you well. That's their blooming job, isn't it? What do you think? They just let you die? They're nurses. And no, I don't want to go into hospital. And anyway, don't get upset because I say something on the radio. I don't know anything. I'm not supposed to know anything because, you see, I am a radio talk show host. It's 8:16. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
The M25 has now opened clockwise on the...
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. How would you like to be a member of the LBC 97.3 Film Club with Cineworld Cinemas? You get to see the best films first and for free. And this month, the movie of the month is The Bank Job, a highly charged thriller based on a true story about an unsolved robbery which has links to the royal family. Jason Statham, Saffron Burrows, both in it. For your chance to see this film and others, just go to the website, which is lbc.co.uk, sign up for the VIP club. It's the LBC 97.3 Film Club with Cineworld Cinemas. Thamesmead. Hello, Max.
Hi, Nick.
Max.
Hi, yeah. I just want to say, I was once a child.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
And I used to, with my friends, we used to hang outside a chip shop. We used to eat our chips outside.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are forgetting that they were once children before. And I think we're heading for a 1984-style type country.
Well, you know what? The difference between when I used to hang around the chip shop too and today is that kids didn't shoot each other outside the chip shop when I used to do it. That's the reason that people are getting upset, is because there's an escalation of violence that you couldn't have imagined even 10 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a small minority, Nick. And also, kids have been getting shot and stabbed for over 15 years. It's only in the past couple of years that the media have been broadcasting it.
No, I don't think that's true. I mean, if
it's happened for a long time.
Well, it's not true, mate, because the media would broadcast any such event because it's big news. Of course it is.
No, I used to work for the emergency services, Nick, and a lot of stuff used to happen. And I used to come home and I'd ask my missus, "Oh, did you hear about this? Was it on the news?" And she'd say, "No." Loads of stuff used to go on. People getting their heads chopped off at football matches and their arms chopped off at football matches, and people getting killed outside nightclubs.
People getting their heads chopped off at a football match was never reported in the newspaper.
No, I saw a guy outside Tottenham Hotspur's football ground with his arm chopped off and he was bleeding to death. I didn't hear about it in the news.
Right, well, I very much doubt that either...
I'm not making it up.
Well, I don't believe you, mate. I'm sorry. Nobody got their head chopped off at a football match, and it wasn't reported in the newspaper.
His arm.
I mean, where did you go to see this match? Saudi Arabia?
His arm got chopped. No, it was on Tottenham High Road. His arm was chopped off, and the police were hanging all around him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean...
Right. Such a thing wouldn't be interesting to the press, no.
Well, I think it scares the public if you say too much. You know, if you tell them what's really going on, it scares them. But what they're doing now is I think they're hyping it up too much.
Well, you know, you're not entirely crazy because that is true. What we have now is we're in a giant sort of fashion. I can't finish that sentence, but news stories in papers go in fashionable cycles.
Yeah.
Dog bites man happens all the time. Only every now and again it will get reported in the papers, and then you get a week of dog bites men stories, and then it doesn't get reported anymore. It doesn't mean to say it's not happening anymore. It's just that the press have moved on. But the press haven't moved on from this kids are stabbing and shooting each other thing.
No.
They've gripped this, and on a daily basis, you get more and more and more of it. But that's not to say that they shouldn't be reporting it, because this is, it's important stuff. It's detailing the breakup of society as we know it. So it's not the press's fault for reporting it, if it's actually happening.
No, but do you remember when they banned smacking? When they banned parents from smacking children?
Yeah, well, isn't that happening about now? I mean, I know
they banned it in the 80s. The Tories banned it. yeah? And then basically they gave power to the children by saying, the children can take you can take your parents to court if they tell you you're being grounded, if they tell you you can't go out, or if they smack you, whatever. So they give the power back to the children, and now the children are unruly. I mean, if you're gonna take away the power from the parents, what's going to happen?
Well, I don't disagree with you there.
It's very unfair, and I think what's going to happen if they keep having these mosquito sirens for children and almost having like Gestapo police going around, it's just going to make them very upset adults.
No, I've got no sympathy for the mosquito thing. I really haven't. I mean, if kids are hanging around your business, affecting your profits by driving other customers away, then it should be all right to put a thing out there. And kids bleating about, where are we going to go now? I mean, it's just pathetic.
Classical music or something. Play like Barry Manilow, like the other option. But
well, I'd rather have them play something that I can't hear.
Yeah, I guess so. But what if you could hear it? I mean, I'm 32, and I have heard the siren, the noise. Right.
Well, it would affect me momentarily as I walk by, and I wouldn't be that bothered by it. Because you go into the shop and you wouldn't be able to hear it in the shop, would you?
Okay, Nick, what do you think, if they keep bringing out all these laws for children, why don't they just lock children up? Why just make jails for children?
They have, aren't they called juvenile detention centres?
Yeah, well, what I mean, as soon as they leave school, they send them to prison.
What an excellent idea. He's cracked it.
Well, you might as well, I mean...
Well, yeah, all right then. To hell with it. Let's just do that then. Sure, why not? In fact, everybody must go to prison right now.
Yeah.
You included. I want you to hand yourself in immediately, Max. Will you do that for me? Thanks,
no.
mate. Give it some thought, all right. 0845 6060 973. This show has made a bizarre turn, Raj, and I believe it's all your fault.
I'm not even going to apologise.
Hounslow, Steve.
Hello there. I've never laughed so hard. That last caller and that woman who called up, I'm still sort of actually aching from the laughter.
She was a very nice lady.
Beheading at the Tottenham football match.
Yeah, nobody wants to read about that.
Well, no. But, no, actually, I wanted to talk about the mosquito, that machine that they're installing.
Yeah.
In West Croydon bus station, I don't know if you ever had the misfortune of being there, for about 4 or 5 years now, they've tried, I don't know if they've done this around London, but I know they do it there every night. They play classical music.
Really?
From about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they also have these police community support officers who seem to be getting smaller and smaller every day.
And rounder, yeah.
But the thing is that this classical music was supposed to deter the youth who are making problems and so forth. But every evening when you're waiting for a bus, you're sort of hearing gunshots go off in the distance, people are conceiving, there are stabbings going on, and in the background you've got...
It's like watching The Clockwork Orange.
And the thing is that these police community support officers, there was one a few weeks ago, and there were about 4 or 5 girls making a huge almighty kerfuffle, right? And he just stood there and he didn't do anything at all. And I didn't blame him because he was smaller than most of the girls, you know?
Mm.
And I don't know, I think this, I mean, obviously more police are needed, but this, I don't know if they've replicated this around London, or if it's just West Croydon bus station.
I don't think classical music is going to do it, because classical music is soothing. It doesn't make you want to run from the building. There's nothing wrong with it.
And it's just, it plays on in the background as people are getting, sort of gunned down and vandalising the glass, and that's just the police community support office.
But at least they're conceiving and dying at the same time, Steve. At least that's the way you described it. It's the circle of life.
It's almost like an NHS hospital, as one of your female callers said previously. But,
it's a beautiful image. South Croydon bus station, is that what you're saying?
West Croydon.
Oh, West Croydon. Oh, well, notorious that is, yeah. It's one of the most fragrant of the Croydon bus stations, I believe.
It's, well, no, they keep it quite clean.
Yeah, I love the smell of a bus station in the morning.
It's not the environment that's the problem, it's just the people, because there are lots of very aggressive people, and the police community support officers, God bless them, they don't seem to really instill a sense of fear into your soul.
Well, no, I don't know why do they do it? Because they don't even get paid, do they?
I think they get paid. One of my friends said it's a brilliant salary. I think it was about 20,000, and I thought that wasn't that brilliant to get sort of stabbed. And
no, not really. No, but, to become a target. I mean, you might as well wear "Shoot Me" on your back.
But they're so little, and they just look so confused. And these 12-year-old girls weren't even intimidated by them. And I'm not the biggest of guys, but I could take them on. They're tiny. Before you'd have police officers with big helmets and also big hats, and they'd be walking around, and it would be like the Bill.
Yeah, intimidating. That's right.
It would be like the Bill, but now it's more like the Magic Roundabout,
like the Munchkins. Yeah,
with the cast of Rainbow in the background.
Follow the yellow brick road. Yeah,
smoking cannabis.
What?
Sorry.
Have you been? Yeah, I thought so.
No.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Fabulous.
Ta-ta.
Bye-bye.
Nothing on this show has made any sense to me so far. But Croydon bus station, that sounds like we absolutely must go there straight after the show, Raj. Let's hang around. I need a pee. So it's 0845. Did I say the number already? 0845. I dumped that call just about a minute too early. And Alex, doing the tremendous job that he's doing, hasn't got any of these others from Forest Hill or Barnet or Banstead or Chelmsford or Staines. Not one single call. So I'll just fill for a minute, shall I?
Well,
Don't worry about
you're a
me.
professional. That's why I knew you could. I didn't want you to waste them by just having a minute's
too
worth.
early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all of these, I'm sure they'll be absolutely fantastic.
They're
each and
all
every one of them.
A1 quality.
No, classical music won't do it. That's not going to drive them out. That will just give a nice, pleasant background to the death and disaster that will accompany them.
They do it here at the tube station near here.
Do they?
Yeah.
What, play classical music?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, and there's been how many members of staff mugged from here in the last year?
Really? At
2
that
or 3,
tube station?
I think.
Is that right?
Yeah. But usually the station itself is, bereft of youths. But they've done funky lighting as well outside to make it look nice.
So they're bereft of youth, but staff from here have been mugged by other staff from here, disgruntled staff members. Right. Okay, we'll conduct an internal investigation. We'll be right back with the results. This is LBC. Sly Stallone. He's going to be doing. He's going to be in Leicester Square, but he doesn't do a Tom Cruise. They're going to expand Leicester Square, and they're going to the plans are, I believe, up right now. Or they were last time I took a peek on a board just on the east side of the square of all the things that they're going to do. It looks quite nice, but it's going to increase the amount of crowd. How would you put this? The sort of front line of crowd that Tom Cruise would go down and glad hand and speak to their mums on their phones. He's going to increase by it looks like by a double or triple. It's going to take him days to do his little walkabout.
Maybe they should do. They put sculptures and stuff in squares. Maybe they could put a sculpture of a sofa there, and he could leap over it every time he comes to visit. It'd be a crowd pleaser.
He's never going to live that down ever. Him going loopy with Oprah. Loopy with Oprah. And unfortunately, because of YouTube, he will be doing that until the end of time. Tom, when you do that, it just makes you look like a dope.
He'll be remembered for that now, though.
Yeah, but
all
that
the
and
films,
that alone, yeah.
All those films, all those performances, but they'll remember for the sofa incident.
Yeah, that's right. Staines, Ian.
Hello there.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah, just something I thought I should mention. I'm a builder working in London, Chelsea, Mayfair, Knightsbridge, all those nice areas.
Yeah.
And we come into London every day. I've got a 4x4, a brand new one, which can hold 5 people at work for me, and it can carry materials.
Yeah.
That new 2007 Toyota is 209, the reading of it for emissions is 219 milligrams per mile, I think, it chucks out. The limit is 225, anything over 225.
Yeah.
So you're not suddenly going to see no 4x4s on the road, because all the people who live in that area and do drive 4x4s, they drive all the latest models, Volvos, Porsches, and I wouldn't have thought any of those throw out any more than 225. So you're not suddenly going to see no 4x4s on the road in London.
Yeah, they do. Way more. Porsches, all of those big luxury cars throw out more than 225, definitely.
All right, mine doesn't. Maybe it's just a Toyota then. I would have thought, maybe the new ones weren't kicking out that amount.
Well, the Standard has got this tonight, and they say that cars that fall within Band G are going to have to pay £25 to enter the zone. Those produce more than 225 grams of CO2 per kilometre. They include Range Rover, Renault Espace, Porsche 911, and the BMW X5. And basically any car that is that motors along that's not got pedal power. All car. I mean, it's like 2.5 litres, right? I mean, what kind of Disneyland Toy Town car has got less than a 2.5 litre engine? That's got to be microscopic.
Oh, that's right. Well, mine is 3 litre, and it apparently from Toyota it's 219. So it's 6 under the 225. So maybe I'm just lucky.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, then. Well, thanks for that.
Okay, cheers, mate. Ta-ra.
Cheers, bye.
Yeah, this because I didn't know anything about this, and I was listening to the drive coming in, and they were telling me that basically the thing that I drive is killing the planet, which is just absolute rubbish. Ken Livingstone today announced a tripling the congestion charge for the Chelsea tractor, and it's not just going to be Chelsea tractors, it's virtually every car on the road. 25 quid a day, the equivalent of $6,500 a year to come into London. The Mayor's also scrapping the 90% discount for zone residents owning gas guzzlers. Well, that part makes sense. What was really stupid on his part was increasing the zone into the west, so that the free entry into the congestion zone was then given to everybody who lives in Chelsea. I mean, that's just mad. He's also proposing from October, cars emitting the lowest amounts of emissions, such as Ford Fiestas, Fiat Pandas and Renault Clios, should get a 100% discount. In other words, the cars that women drive. Well, that's true. The plans unveiled by the Mayor at his City Hall press conference are likely to form the centrepiece of his re-election campaign. Until now, the only total exemption from the £8 charge was for electric, hybrid and biofuel cars. And I don't know whether it's worth £8 to be seen in one of those things, because those are the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. Laugh out loud funny they are, that gee-whiz thing. I mean, come on. Why does it have to look like that? Mr Livingstone has already announced a £500 million package of bicycle superhighways to get more people out of cars and onto their bikes or feet. Right, hands up who's going to ditch their car at whatever expense and get on a bicycle. Anybody? Hands up? No one. Well, the sea charge changes will reduce emissions by just... Now get this. All of this grief and, people are going to be ditching their cars that are 3 litres and going and buying a brand new car that's under this 225 grams of CO2 per kilometre, which is insane. Because by far the best thing for the planet would be to keep your old car, because the biggest amount of pollution that's caused in the life cycle of a car is building the thing in the first place. So if you've got an old Rolls-Royce, for instance, which must get like 10 miles to the gallon, it would be better for the planet if you just stuck with that than going and buying a brand new, Renault Clio. Because the part that really harms the environment is when they build the thing. So none of this seems to make any sense to me. So while the sea charge changes will reduce emissions by just 7,500 tonnes of CO2 a year, charging people 25 quid to come into town and getting all those cars off the road will reduce emissions by 7,500 tonnes of CO2, which is about the same amount that you'd get from keeping a cow in your garden. Is that CO2 or that's methane, isn't it? Something else entirely. But you'd harm the planet just as the same way. He said that Ken says combine that with the cycling plans, and they'll bring a total reduction of around 500,000 tonnes. Now, that also doesn't make any sense. But, politicians, they just say this stuff, and people go, oh, yeah, right, and they just write it down, and they print it in a newspaper as though it's the word of God. So the sea charge change will cut emissions by 7,500 tonnes. Add that to the bicycle plans, and that will bring a reduction of 500,000 tonnes. This is crazy. I mean, he made that figure up, assuming that that many people will ditch their cars to ride a bike. Of course they won't. I mean, they just absolutely flat out won't. Also, how much CO2 is going to be produced by the creation of these cycle lanes? It must be off the scale, because you'll have lorries and then tar and then the digging and all that stuff that goes with it. Tory mayoral candidate Boris Johnson said plans would make an infinitesimal difference to general CO2 output in London. It's the equivalent of 1 or 2 hours at Heathrow Airport, which is probably correct. The AA is opposed to the idea of the £25 charge for the banned G vehicles, as many of these are going to be older cars, estates or people carriers owned by families in London who tend to keep these vehicles longer as they do such low mileage. Much better to keep them longer than ditch them and buy a car that pumps out less CO2, because, as I say, that's the part that harms the planet the most, the building of them in the first place. Sheila, acting director of the RAC, said, it's a question of trust. The charge was brought in as congestion charge, not an environmental tax. Kent's proposals will increase congestion by increasing the number of small cars with a discount and do very little to cut CO2 in London. This is gesture politics rather than a serious attempt to tackle London's air quality problems. A spokesman for business group London First, which backed the original scheme, says this is just daft. We know it's election year, but encouraging gridlock in the centre of London is no vote winner. Banned A and B cars don't reduce CO2. They add to it, and that's true too. Getting a lot of those small cars is not going to necessarily be better than getting a few of the bigger ones. And I've got my eye on one with a really big engine too. But, that's just blokes. How big's yours, Raj? Don't answer that question. It's none of my business. Banstead, hello, Charlotte.
Hi, Nick.
Charlotte.
How's things going?
Oh, they're going great, mate.
Oh, good. I was just reading about Helen Newlove.
Who?
Gary Newlove was kicked to death, wasn't he?
Yes.
She was saying that we need to be like America. We have got no deterrent whatsoever. And we should bring back the electric chair. She said I could actually deliver the lethal injection myself.
Yeah, well, I think there should. I think there'd be a queue of people behind her. But capital punishment, whether you agree with it or not, is not actually a deterrent. Murders have gone on undiminished in America, and so it's not a deterrent because people don't expect to get caught when they're doing it.
But things are getting out of hand over here, aren't they? Something's got to be done. You can't just. Nobody seems to be doing anything about it.
Yeah, but killing them.
The courts. Nobody's.
Yeah, I get it. But killing the perps isn't going to stop the murders. That will make society and the individuals associated feel better, but it's not going to actually stop them. That's something else. Whatever that is, whoever can come up with it is going to be a very wealthy person.
But America hasn't stopped it, have they? They just continue with the electric chair.
Yeah, that's right. But equally, the electric chair or the lethal injection or whatever it is they want to do hasn't stopped the murders.
Right.
So it's not a deterrent, it's just payback.
But they might think twice.
No, they won't. They won't think twice because they're not expecting to get caught. That's why they're doing it. Oh. I mean, nobody who's who's committing a crime at the time thinks, "Oh, I better not do this or I'll get caught," because then they wouldn't be doing it. You don't expect to get caught when you're committing a crime.
Don't you think this country's so soft? I mean, if you go to Saudi Arabia, you have your hands chopped off.
Yeah, but that's not. But that doesn't stop people stealing there either.
No.
Unfortunately, the thought of a punishment, one removed, isn't deterrent.
Right.
It stops if you lock somebody up or you kill them. It stops them doing it again, particularly if you kill them. But it's not going to stop them doing it in the first place.
Well, don't you think our courts and our police are so lenient here? Would you say?
Well, you know, bizarrely, although people are calling for more people to get locked up, we're locking up more citizens of this country than at any time in this country's history, and yet it still doesn't seem to be enough. That's the bizarre thing. It's not as though they're not locking people up anymore. They are, more than ever before. But it's but it doesn't seem to be quite sufficient. That's the bizarre, that's the weird thing. I mean, there's something seriously wrong going on here, and nobody seems to have a grasp of what it is.
When did they stop hanging? Do you know? When did the last hanging take place?
I don't know. I'll have a wild stab in the dark and say 1966.
Right.
I think it was 57.
Not long ago, really.
Raj says 57.
Right. But what do you think? Do you think we should do... What would you suggest? Because it's all getting out of hand, isn't it? Everything. You're stabbing every day and people getting... they die.
Well, I think one thing to do is one thing that you have to do is to catch people early, and so the removal of discipline in schools was not a good idea. The handing over of rights and the Human Rights Act and to children was also not a good idea. I mean, this is an experiment that doesn't seem to have worked very well. Kids know their rights right enough, but they don't. But they don't have any. Rights. With rights come respect, and if you haven't got any, then you shouldn't have any. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, Charlotte, I've got to go. Cheers, my dear. Ta-ra. 8:46. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
If you're at a...
What's one of the biggest challenges faced by business professionals? Leaving work on time. At the end of the day, you're stuck at the office because everything you need is on your computer. That's why you need Go to My PC, because with Go to My PC, you have secure access to everything on your PC. Go to My PC automatically downloads, and within seconds, you can have access to your office desktop so you can work on all your files, emails, programs, even your network. So you get home at a decent hour, not a dreadful one. Go to My PC has won the World Class Award for Remote Access from US magazine PC World 4 years in a row, and now you can try it for yourself with a 30-day free trial. Just visit gotomypc.co.uk, click the Try It Free button, and use promo code LBC. That's gotomypc.co.uk, Try It Free button, promo code LBC. Access your PC from anywhere. Try Go to My PC free today. Conditions apply.
Growing a new business.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
There's going to be a green day off. Have you heard about this? Workers could get an unexpected day off on February the 29th. What day of the week is that?
Is that the day that you don't normally have because it's not a leap year?
Oh, what?
So it's only once every 4 years.
Is it a leap year this year?
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, right. Workers could get an unexpected day off on February the 29th as part of a campaign to tackle climate change. Companies are being encouraged to let staff stay at home to use free time to help the environment, such as switching to energy-efficient light bulbs, creating compost heaps, and sorting out their recycling. The National Trust is spearheading the campaign known as Green Leap Day, and it's 4,800 employees and 49,000 volunteers have been told to take the day off. And business leaders said... Have you ever heard anything so silly? Companies are being encouraged to let staff stay at home.
What? It's a Friday as well.
Right.
Everyone will just be switching on their TVs.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, doing the lawn, having a barbecue.
Are they going to have green police coming around to check that you're being green?
Almost certainly, yeah. Issuing fines, yeah. Chigwell, Eduardo.
They can stay at home, but I'm not paying them. It's like a sick day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure the Red invented it. When is this city going to learn that we have this lunatic communist running the city? I mean, he's doing it again. Well, if you've worked hard and achieved, you buy yourself a nice big car,
huge.
And now you have to pay £25. But if you're watching Jeremy Kyle all day and you're running around in your Ford Fiesta Popular, it's free to go and get your dole checked from the London office.
It's an outrage, yeah.
This guy's a lunatic. Listen, he's going to get in again as well. And that's the frightening thing, because Boris still is probably getting his lunch money nicked, and no one's heard of the other bloke. So we're knackered. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, go back 10 or 12 years, right? Didn't have to pay to drive into London.
No.
£5, £8, £5. We could park without having to remortgage, and you didn't get your photograph taken every time you went past the yellow box.
It were grand when we were a lad.
It really was. We didn't moan then, the odd parking ticket, but now you just got to stop and there's they're not even traffic wardens anymore. When did the traffic wardens change into these parking enforcement dooberies?
Exactly.
Ken. He's such a communist. I bought Auto Trader yesterday because my Saab's going back in April. Really fancied booting it up to a 4x4 because I fancied the BMW or the Sport, the Range Rover. Of course. Because you can get them on for about £4,500 now. It's not that much.
What, £4,500?
No, about £4.
Oh, you cracked up there. How much?
About £4.50 a month you can lease one for.
Oh, lease, right.
Right, but I go into central London about 2 or 3 times a week, and now that's going to be an extra £75 a week.
Yeah.
It's just not on.
No.
This fool is affecting my life. I mean, he's just a politician. How can he have that much effect on me? It's cost me so much money with his congestion and his fights, and now he wants to get on bikes.
I thought that when we were sold this whole mayor thing, we were told that the mayor won't actually have any power at all.
Well, he's a comedy figure. They lie to us. They always lie to us. Listen, if he thinks that I'm going to not drive in my nice, comfortable, air-conditioned leather cocoon to a meeting in the city, park it outside of the congestion charge, and get on a bike in a £500 suit, he's got another thing coming.
A £500 suit, Eduardo?
That's on a bad day.
Right. You need to work more.
The property market.
Put in some overtime. Well, that's true, yeah.
It's all going, though. We'll soon be back to British home stores and Ford and the Ford dealership.
Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.
Ciao.
Here, why don't cyclists have rear mudguards? The amount of cyclists I see that don't have rear mudguards, with the result that mud and water is sprayed up in a direct line up their bottoms. With the result that it looks as though, whatever happened to rear mudguards? I'd want one. So it's a direct question to you, Raj, and I really mean that. But he's right, people are going to work in their suits. How are you going to get a suit on a bike? How are you going to get your little man bag on a bike? How are you going to get your important papers and, all that stuff? People are just not going to go on bikes. They won't. I'm telling you right now they won't. Once you've had a car, and I came to cars really late. I think I was 40 years old before I had my first car. I've still got my first car. I've only ever owned one car, and I've still got it. Clapped out piece of junk it is. And once you've had a car, you can never go back. Before I had a car, I couldn't conceive of really needing one. But once you've had one, even if you don't use it very much, I mean, just going to the shops would be out the question. Struggling onto a bus with 6 bags full of yummy comestibles, you just forget it. So you'll never prize people out of the cars once they've had one. And once you get that, once you accept that, then we can move forward. This idea that people are going to leave their cars at home and get on their bicycles, it's just not going to happen. It won't. Not in London. Maybe in, I don't know. Pick somewhere nice. Where's somewhere nice?
Southampton.
Is that nice?
It can be.
Southampton. I doubt Southampton's nice. It's probably a revolting place, isn't it?
It was alright when I was living there.
Plymouth.
Sandbanks.
Portsmouth. Yeah, exactly. Sandbanks. Yeah, if you live in Sandbanks, then you probably cycle. Yeah. Otherwise, forget it. Just not going to happen. And you can cajole and fine and do anything you like, but people just won't do it because he's right. The cocoon is what it is. You've got all your stuff there, and heated to the required temperature. Got a bottle of wine in one hand, a fag in the other. What could be better than that? Speeding along a residential street at 80 miles an hour. There's nothing wrong with it. 0845 6060 973. There were other things that I wanted to talk about. The pirate downloading thing. Anybody downloaded anything at all? And people go, oh no, not me. Liars. Well, it's going to be 3 strikes and you're out, if you get caught, of course. It's a giant if. Clothes. They're going to make clothes now that self-clean. So you'll never need to go to the dry cleaners again. This is LBC.
This is... Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
That last message, that important message that we just heard, relates to me, because I got a phone call this morning that said, hello, you've just won a holiday.
Was it a recorded voice?
No. Because I know, you know those, where you pick up the phone and there's this long pause and it sounds like you've got an international call coming in. And then, do you realise that... And then I'll slam the phone down. You know those are coming in. No, she said, congratulations, you've won a holiday. My attitude was, yeah, right. Where's the catch? She's like, no catch. I'd entered a competition to win a holiday. And she told me that I'd won the holiday. Can you believe that?
No.
Well, no, me either, because that's the last I heard. She says, oh, you'll be getting a call from some bloke from the hotel. No call.
They might ask for your credit card details
Well,
first.
yeah, exactly. There's got to be something. I don't win anything. The only thing I've ever won was a Rolling Stones live album, which was rubbish. And that was in 78. I went to America, and when I came back, there was a Rolling Stones album, a live album, waiting for me when I got back. Pants. It was as bad as the Rolling Stones were when I saw them back then at Wembley. They were rubbish. When I saw them at Twickenham a little while ago, they were they were asleep. Mick Jagger was this crazy person throwing himself around the place. He was worth the ticket price alone, being as it was free. Because, over the other place I play a lot of...
Rock and roll!
And so I copped a freebie. Oh, performance-enhancing drugs. Me and Dwayne were like that. Nice cup of tea. Wait a minute, let me just check.
Awful.
Oh, appalling. Let's have, and I really mean that too. Forest Hill. Hello, Jill.
Hello.
Jill.
Nick.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you sound fine. Connecting 2 stories from yesterday and today, or this morning. Even.
Yeah.
Mr. Ferrari was talking about it as well. The fire brigade being attacked by youth when they're trying to go about their...
Yeah, can you believe that?
Lawful duty. Well, not even in mad, third world Zimbabwe, where they're all anarchists out there because they're mad and everything, and even they wouldn't do it, so... I don't know, drugs and spoilt youth.
There was even something worse than that today. Is this what you're going to get onto?
Well, no, I was going to connect the other growing story today connected with youth, and that is the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Why don't they use it? Why don't they give it to, rather than, threaten to outlaw it, give it to the fire brigade, and, when the youth start to pelt their fire engines and the firemen themselves with rocks as they're trying to enter a burning building to save someone's life,
yeah.
they just blow those flipping mosquitoes and just, send them off.
Well, I think the problem is, Jill...
Orchestra of mosquitoes.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that they don't actually... It's not violent enough to drive them away. It just becomes irritating over a period of time, which is another reason why it seems so daft that Liberty of all organisations, have stepped in to say that it's, against their human rights, because it's not actually giving them pain, it's just a mild irritant, which just gets a bit annoying after a while, and so they slope off.
So we can't even, it's okay, the youth can irritate, attack, butcher and murder the adults and each other, but we can't even irritate in the slightest.
Well, exactly.
Imbalance here. Let me think. Yes, definite imbalance here. No, it's not going to be tolerated by us. It really isn't. And
I'm afraid to say, Jill, it is being tolerated by us.
Well, I think when someone's house in future is being burnt down, and the fire brigade say, well, we couldn't save what we could have saved because we were spending time fending off violent youth, then eventually when enough of the houses go up in flames that could have been saved or partially saved, then maybe the populace will say enough's enough.
Well, I don't know. I mean, how much...
Men will be men in this.
Well, how much do you have to take before you say enough is enough? I think that we're in a state of mind in this country where we'll just keep well, it's like, thank you, sir, may I have another? And we just keep taking it.
So when were men in this country? Sorry to bring it down to that level, but it feels like that.
Oh, I see. It's our fault, is it? Hey, Alex, we discussed me. Men.
There were a time in this country when real men were real men.
Yeah.
Where are they now?
Australia.
No, they're, being, cowed by the youth, and that's not right.
No.
When in our history has that ever happened?
Well, that's, the whole world has been turned upside down, it's crazy.
Actually, they may as well give them that. In fact, they may as well let the youth go into Parliament, kick out all the old ones, and I'm sure they'll give them a good kicking, because that's what a lot of them are good at. And let the ferals run the Parliament, because we're giving them everything else. Hey, fine, let's really give up.
All right, well, on that happy note, thanks a lot, Jill.
That's my best positive feedback, please.
That's all right. Cheers.
No.
There seems to be a running thread on this show. Partly because it's the only thing that's in the papers these days. And, a programme like this must reflect what people are talking about. People are talking about what's in the news, and the papers are stuffed with this stuff. But nobody seems to be doing anything about it. In fact, we seem to be, even now, with all of the, with the coverage that it's been getting, even now we seem to be still capitulating, going backwards we are, with people like Chakrabarti and Liberty and this children's minister, whatever his name is, Mr. Sir Triple-Barreled, sticking up for, it seems like, the wrong people. I mean, am I crazy? I mean, explain this to me. Really, I mean it. Just can you explain this to me, Raj? Am I and the people that are calling in about all this stuff, are we just unhinged? Are we not lost touch with reality? Is this situation been completely blown up out of all proportion? Is it the fault of the news media that keeps reporting the same thing over and over again? Are we deluding ourselves that there is a problem? Because if none of that's true, then what are we doing about it?
I'm going to say nothing.
Bravely. Well done. Pimlico. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, how are you?
Hello, Nick. This is your captain speaking.
Yes, mate.
Well, this £25 a day charge.
Yeah.
It's I've done some radio tonight, not only UK but worldwide, and it's very worrying because what Londoners must be aware of is the fact that Ken saying he's going to make all these little cars exempt.
Right.
And that to me is a bit of electioneering, but I probably would say that. But the thing is come 6 months down the line when all these little cars are floating around London and chogging up the streets.
Right.
He will just change his mind, he'll redraft it and say, no, they must pay half the £25 fee. It's become too popular, there's too many of them.
Yes, well, he's already said we can change at any time and introduce a £4 charge, and if he says 4, he actually, double it. It'll mean 8.
Agreed, so what we need is some sort of cast in stone legal agreement. This is what he's envisaging for the next sort of 3 years, so people can
go and
plan accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if he reneges on that, because he reneges on everything, including the consultation for this £25 a day thing, it gives you the option to sue his butt off and get your recompense yourself financially for your misfortune.
Right. Well, that's not a bad idea, because if he is trying to prize people out of their luxury limousines and get them into little biscuit tins on wheels, then to give up your Mercedes S-Class and to go into a Fiat Punto would be, plutocrats would be disinclined to do that. But if you force it on them, and then turn around and charge them for the privilege of driving in on top, then you can imagine that their hearts would explode right out of their fat chests. They'd be very upset indeed. Yeah.
I mean. The problem is another thing is the media, not being rude to yourself. I mean, some of the LBC news bulletins on the other side, at the other channel, leading with gas-guzzling 4x4s are going to get hit between. It's not just...
No, that's right.
Gas-guzzling 24...
No, it's pretty much every car on the road. I mean, how many cars on the road have got less than a 2.5-litre engine?
Well, no, it's down to these particulates of grams that they emit out the exhaust. And, I mean, it could be something like, let's try and think of an example, a small car, like an Audi A3 Sports or something, a little hatchback, like a Golf GTI.
Yeah.
It's going to be knocking out the same sort of emissions as a range. But the way he spun it out again is he said, and the PR's it's quite clever, he says, gas guzzler. And then the media and the people in the newsrooms go, gas guzzler.
Yeah, that's right.
Four-wheel drive.
Correct. They just.
That's how, because it's lady sub-editors and blah, blah, blah.
They just print what comes in off the press release. Yes.
Correct. So, I mean, we've got this going on. I mean, the technology companies are going to win on this. I mean, he's saying it's going to bring so many millions of pounds into London and for cycling and everything and buses and they want to bring these cycle lanes in and X, Y, and Z. But all that's going to do is going to steal more of the existing road space there already is.
Well, then it must do. Either they're going to knock down houses or they're going to take road space. Yeah,
they're going to take road space off you and me, and they're going to put it on these cycles. It's just someone has got to vote this joker out. I mean, I don't know if Boris has been saying. If someone wants to get in tomorrow into government, all they've got to say is we've got 60 million people in the UK. We've got 35 million licensed drivers, and we've got like 30 million vehicles. They've just got to say, we're going to go pro-motoring, pro-motorists, we're going to, take down the speed cameras, we're going to stop road pricing, we're going to just build some more roads, appease this big, it's not a minority, it's a great big majority.
It's amazing that nobody's said that. I can't believe that everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet on this, anti-roads, anti-car, and so on and so on. But the general public is whining like a stuck pig. I can't believe that no politician has stepped into that void and started to pander to that crowd. Yeah, you're right.
But equally, Nick, if that was the case, we would have a lovely political party would come along and sweep the decks and be in tomorrow, and they would be called the Truth Party, and they would tell the truth.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll hold my breath. Yeah.
It's going to be bad, but here it is. Here's the news. It's going to be bad. You're not going to like it, but at least we're telling the truth, which is, to me, if I'm going to get kicked in the butt, I don't mind as long as you tell me I'm going to get kicked in the butt.
Right.
But if it's got strawberries on it, Nick, I want the strawberries and I want those cream.
So yummy. I've got to go, mate. Here comes the travel news, coincidentally. 9:17. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
The M20...
Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
One thing that I was referring to when I was just having a conversation just now about the kids throwing stuff at fire crews. We were talking about that yesterday, and I said that there was something worse. Kids throwing stones at funeral processions. That's right. Drivers and youths are showing no respect for the dead or their grieving families, according to Britain's undertakers. The past decade has seen a public attitude towards funerals reach an all-time low, they claim. In a sad reflection of today's society, motorists refuse to stop for funeral processions and regularly cut up hearses. Horses pulling funeral carriages have even had stones thrown at them by schoolchildren. And I could go on, and this is quite a long story, but it just gets too depressing after a while. But that is a common theme I've noticed on this show, primarily because it's a common theme in the newspapers. Certainly over the last, how long would you say, 6 months? It's almost all the newspapers are writing about these days. So, yes, they're going out and they're seeking out stories like this, but it's not that anything that they're writing about is not newsworthy, because it all is. And it all points to in one direction, that society is falling apart. Not generally, not in the world as a whole, just here. What is it? What is wrong with British people that we seem to lead the world in everything that's bad? Teenage pregnancy, violence, drug taking, but you name it, we're number one. What is that? Because we don't think of ourselves in that way. Or at least we didn't used to. And the world doesn't think of us in that way. Because the British abroad, I mean, you ask an American who hasn't met many of us what British people are like, and they'll tell you we wear bowler hats and a furled umbrella, and we know the Queen personally. And we stop for tea at 3. But that's not it at all.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we still think we are like that, and somehow we need a big mirror held up.
But we seem to have gone from that to the zoo, with almost nothing in between.
It does seem like, I've noticed in my generation it's changed.
What do you mean?
Well, my generation kind of growing up, where I still seemed like we had manners and politeness and respect and kind of fear of authority, like the police and government, etc. But the generation after me seems to have grown up doing what it likes, and there's no, even just from learning like basic spelling and being able
that's
to
another
speak.
issue. That's another issue.
But things like that. But respect and
Okay. So there's something to work with. So it's happened between your generation, you say, and the next one. What was it that differentiated the experience of growing up for you and for the generation that we're talking about? You'd have to say it was Tony Blumman Blair. Was it Tony Blair who stopped corporal punishment in school, or was it the previous administration? Anyway, whoever it was, they were a dope. They were probably doing it for good reasons, liberal, namby-pamby reasons. Never did me any harm, we all said. And it turns out that they were wrong. This is a giant experiment that seems to have gone terribly wrong. And you know what? And if there's one reason, that might be it right there. That there's no discipline in school. So when you grow up and there's no discipline in school, then you're never set any boundaries. Because that's what being a kid is all about. It's challenging the boundaries that have been set for you by your parents. And unless you do that, then you don't leave the nest, so to speak. You have to feel your way in the world to see what the limits of acceptable behaviour are. And if there are no limits at school, and if there are no limits at home, then I think that you come to the situation that we've got now. So maybe that's it. Maybe it was the putting away of the cane and the belt that has brought us to this position now. Were you ever thrashed as a child, Raj?
I was smacked.
Right. Not thrashed at school, though?
That was illegal in my day.
Right, see, I rest my case. Look how you've turned out. Let's have Weybridge. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, good evening.
Nikki.
Hello. I've got 2 points I wanted to bring up. One, going back to children, discipline. I had a really good call at work today. I basically was privileged to overhear children misbehaving in a maths class. And the teacher trying to sort of get these unruly children to behave in a maths class.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the child had known that their mobile must have dialed the last number or whatever, and everything I could overhear. I was saying, hello, you're still connected.
Really?
Hello. This went on for about 45 minutes. Yeah, this poor teacher, I don't know how he continued. He was sending, from what I could hear, he was sending children outside to sit outside hand over fist. And most of them seem to be running across the sort of the forecourt in the classroom. I could hear them all saying, "Well, he's run out of the building, sir." I'm saying, "Hello, you're still connected."
You know, and this is going to be, it's like a vicious circle, because teaching now in comprehensive seems to be not the imparting of wisdom, it seems to be crowd control. And so who in their right minds would want to be a teacher? And so all the really qualified people, all the excellent teachers, they're going to go do something else. They're going to go teach people at university, or they're just going to get out of the profession altogether, and you're going to be left with a lot of people who aren't up to the job and have just got the job because no one else wants it. And so you're going to have poor teachers teaching kids who are disinclined to learn in the first place. And so actually, this might be seen as the golden age of British society. Things are about to get a lot worse.
Oh, it is. It is scary. All I could hear was these children, or this particular girl that was connected, she was singing, and the teacher was saying, "Why aren't any of you concentrating? None of you are listening. Do you want me to help you?" And she was saying, "Oh, you're such a comedian, sir." And he said, "Well, am I?" And he said, "Well, no, you're not, actually." And she was just singing, and then at one particular time she said, oh, I wish I hadn't gone up today. My brain hurts." and then the teacher said, "Come on, what's 17 minus 9? I thought, oh, my God. And I didn't know what level they must have been at. They sounded like teenagers to me, and he was asking them 17 minus 9.
Yeah, it's...
they all still sounded like they were struggling.
14, isn't it?
Thereabouts.
Yeah, more or less,
I think, something like that.
Close enough for jazz.
But then the other point I wanted to bring up is when sometimes you think that something for nothing, and you get one of these calls at home. But I did many years ago get a call to say that I'd won a prize for two people, and that sounds very exciting. So when I went to pick the tickets up, it was a week's holiday in the QE2. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but yeah. So
it was actually a week's holiday, the QE2.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
And you didn't have to buy anything to get there, or give over your credit card details, or anything like that.
Well, no. I think actually it was if I remember rightly, it was like a £1 raffle ticket.
Wow.
So basically, I took my family with me, or my cousin with me. And but the worst thing about it, obviously, at the time I was on the ship with my cousin, and I was expecting at the time, and I was a bit lonely, so I phoned my partner at the time, and needless to say, on the last day that we left, a nice little invoice was placed under the door for a 20-minute call amounting to £180.
Oh. Well,
and, yeah,
you'll never do that again.
Oh my God! And I didn't have the money at the time, so basically I was paying my cousin back 3 post-dated checks for the next 3 months.
So did you have an outside? Did you have a window, or you were stuck in the basement?
Oh no, no.
Ships don't have basements, do they? But you know what I mean.
No, we were steerage.
Steerage,
yeah.
right.
All the ladies in the leggings playing the harps on the top floor were, so there wasn't really much standards at the time.
Right. Well, of course, if the ship went down, then all those people in steerage would be banging on locked gates. I've seen that film, and I know how it ends. And it's not good.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty sad where it ends. Yeah. But, yeah. So that's my 2 points I wanted to bring.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nikki.
Thank you.
Cheers. Ta-ra.
Bye,
and why did the old bag at the end of that movie throw the jewel in the sea? Silly old fool.
I was so surprised how that film ended.
In what way?
And talk about
surely
surprise.
you knew what was going to happen. It hit an iceberg and sank.
I know.
We knew that already.
What a surprise! Who would have thunk
right.
it?
Yeah. No, but the old deer at the end of the Titanic movie, which was a fine film, apart from the gratuitous spitting. Did they have to do that?
And romance.
Oh yeah, the romance. Yeah. The shooting and the sinking and the mass deaths,
all
completely fine with that. But the snuggling and the cooing, it's like not so much. Not so happy with that.
And the music.
Apparently, the new Rambo movie has a kill every 23 seconds.
Nah, not even I am prepared to go and see a Rambo film. I've never seen a Rambo film in my life. Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't really... no, Arnold Schwarzenegger is good. What's his name? is bad. This is LBC 97.3, 9:30.
Affirmative.
Hey, Terminator, the TV show, starts in a couple of days' time over on Virgin.
Oh.
Which doesn't have anything to watch on at all, as far as I could tell. I mean, they had that Eddie Izzard thing, which I tried once, because, Eddie Izzard is amusing, but he ain't no actor. It was terrible. And Eddie Izzard and Minnie Driver. Crazy name, crazy gal. It's usually with my Minnie Driver that I hoik the ball into the river. It's very annoying. I should always use a wedge.
You should use
an
a
iron
driver with a 460cc head.
With a what? You what?
You need a driver with a 460cc head.
Right. What's that then?
That's the largest legal face you can have in on a golf club.
A 460cc. Yeah, that'd probably get you a £25 charge if you bring it into London. Ken's dead set against it. Bermondsey. Hello, Peter.
Good evening, Nick.
Peter.
Yeah. Quick comment on this self-appointed Messiah leading us to the promised land. I was listening to this joker today about what a terrible catastrophe it's going to be to the world if we don't get these 4x4s off the road. It's all envy and malice. He's sucking up to the sad old lefties that get him in and keep him in power. Now, on the basis of crime and punishment, a scriptwriter for JFK 40-odd years ago said no rights without responsibility. And the tragedy is that kids who walk the streets, they're not responsible to nobody. The judiciary has basically wiped their hands with them, and there lies the problem. Now, in the early 50s, we had a teacher who came, he was an RAF pilot, and he was badly injured. Anyway, he came into our school. Now, where I live, loads of tow rags, right? Well, we had one particular, and he was an absolute pain in the bum to all of us. He had a toe-to-toe fight with the teacher in one of the corridors. The teacher knocked the absolute crap out of him. We were about 15 at the time. Anyway, the headmaster got his father up to the school, and instead of what would happen now, sue him out of the court, the father said to the son, look, you come to school to learn. You don't come to be the funny man or fight. And he said to the headmaster, if my son gives you any more trouble, just get in touch with me. This is where it's all gone wrong. And I think that, on the girls' dinner time, they were talking about this, and Colleen was, quite right-wing in the basis of, she was saying, I don't want these thugs. You know that poor bugger who got his head kicked in by them three tow rags up country?
Yeah.
Right? Well, she said, I really want them to suffer. Now, the irony is I have a daughter and a son-in-law who what can term as bleeding heart liberals. I was talking to their 15-year-old daughter, and this came as a complete surprise. They weren't in earshot, and I said to her, do you agree with the capital punishment? She said, no, it's too easy. I want them to suffer. And I think this is a good point, and I think these people who kill, all right, let's not top them, but don't give them any television, anything. And if they want to do themselves in, just give them so much grief, because we have gone back to the jungle. We are back in the jungle as regards of crime and punishment. There is no punishment. You listen to people. I've had a son who's been away, and he said, there's television, you can get drugs, everything. Now they're getting their conjugal rights. What is the logic of law as it is? And these judges, it means nothing to them. We're just serfs, aren't we? They live in another world.
As you'd have to say, to the politicians who make these rules in the first place. I mean, it's very easy for them to say, you should just put up with it, and you should give them bail and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And they are driven everywhere, and people in the cabinet whose voices matter have armed guards wherever they go, and they don't live the same lives that we do.
You mentioned Eric Sigman the other week. Now, I was listening to him on the radio years ago before he got to Syntac, and he turned around and says, what we know as democracy is pressure groups getting their way.
Well, that is...
and it's a lobbying system.
There's something to be said for that, yeah. I mean,
because we don't have a proper democracy. I think this is why so many, people who think about these situations, realise that you can't beat the system. It's a little clique, and I think he's still alive. He was an old Liberal MP. Smith, his name was, Cyril Smith, and he called Parliament the most exclusive club in the world. Now, when you get the old Powers Act, if you look at it, whatever colour they fly under the flag, if somebody has a pop, they all close in. They all, they're like taxi drivers. They all see the accident, and it wasn't the taxi driver's fault. And these MPs are exactly the same. They got this little clique, and they all cover one another's back. They've all got their snouts in the trough, and here we are. And the tragedy is, with Parliament, too many of them in there are actually in the legal profession. So it's in their interest to make laws that they can argue the toss over.
Well, yeah, I've been saying that for a good long while. I think one of the reasons that we're in the state that we are is we've been run by lawyers for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a Peter Mackay, I think his name was, and years ago when Pants was reintroduced, I think he was the editor, and he turned around and said, till you get the legal profession out of Parliament, you're never going to get anything to change. Nobody's ever going to see justice. And I remember when my son was up the Bailey, I was talking to a brief up there, and he pointed to the court that my son was in, and he said, what goes on in there is a game of chess between the judge, the defence and the prosecution. And if you get justice, you're very fortunate.
Peter Mackay, was he? That's the columnist for.
He's got a page.
He used to be the editor of Punch.
That's right. Yeah, when it was revamped, I heard him on the radio when it was revamped.
I mean, I've read his column. He doesn't seem to, not a very obvious, sense of humour at all.
No, but
maybe that's why it folded again.
That's probably why he made the statement about the. But really, I mean, being involved in, unfortunately, not that I wanted to, I find the legal profession the biggest bunch of crooks going.
Yeah, well, I think there's probably something in that.
Yeah, and then,
Peter, I've got to go.
Okay,
but thanks a lot, mate.
Okay, bye.
Cheers. 0845 6060 973. Yeah. The legal profession are just swimming with criminality. I'm certain of it. Is there anybody that can say that that's not true? Who's not a lawyer? An echoing silence all round. I'll take that as a no. Stansted. Hello, Pat.
Oh, hello there.
Pat.
What a lovely chap who just now.
Made a lot of sense.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if he could stand up in Parliament and say that without any interruptions? Because the one thing I find time and time again, you get all these, I don't know what you call them, do-good, people with different ideas to mine who say, you can't do this, you can't do that. And what I want to say is, right, you give me the solution then, because they can't.
It's interesting,
they can't.
People in isolation from from what they're talking about can get up in Parliament or be part of liberty and stand up and say, well, we shouldn't take strong measures against these people and everybody must get bail and blah blah blah. But I'm absolutely certain that if something like is reported on the papers on a daily basis happened to them,
exactly,
then they turn around really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Now, the interesting thing is, I was all for this I don't know what you call it, what do they call it, the squeaking sound that can...
Yeah, the mosquito device.
Well, somebody came on today on the lunchtime news, and it was interesting, in fact, that, of course, babies and tiny children can hear it, and they were concerned, and I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, well, I mean, babies aren't going to hang around a shop doorway, are they? They're going to be pushed past
it was just one of those things.
But the thing is, it's not making their ears bleed, it's just irritating.
Well, I just thought it sounded like that dreadful bass that you get in music that people pay in their cars.
No, it's
anyway.
It's more like that dreadful thing that you get from people's iPods when you sit next to them on the tube.
Oh, right. No, I haven't had that privilege.
Okay.
Oh, right.
That's something to look forward to, Pat.
The other thing was, I'm not sure whether it was your programme, but a young girl rang in one evening, it must have been a week ago now, to say about how classrooms were now, and how her sister was still at school, and she wouldn't have wouldn't dream of standing up when a teacher came in. Was it your programme?
No, I don't remember that. But then it could have been my programme, so I remember.
Anyway, she came in and She said, we're not and she said, if the teacher said, now everybody stand up, please, as I come in.
Yeah.
I said, we're not standing up. You can't make us do that.
Well, I think that's... I mean, I didn't stand up when the teacher came in, and I went to school in the 70s, so I think it's...
Well, I think it was just one of those formal... I mean, we always did. We
Right.
didn't... The same way as if my son was here and somebody came into the room, I'd expect him to stand up. But there we are. That's me being terribly old-fashioned. But the thing that struck me within about 48 hours, I saw a little program on television, and it was about an African village where they had one large, rather dusty shed to teach the local children in, and because there were so many of them, only 50 in the morning and 50 in the afternoon, and they all came in, and the 50 in the morning, the teacher obviously couldn't remember all the names, and she counted them. She said, number 1, and this little girl would stand up and say yes, or whatever the language was, and she went right through the class, and I thought, those children, bright-eyed, concentrating, well-mannered, and they are very deprived.
Yeah, well, it seems that the more you have, the more, the less you're inclined to work. I think that's fairly true, isn't it? I mean, the amount of times that you hear, oh, well, there's nothing, and they were saying this on Drive as well. Somebody called in on Drive, and the reason their kids are hanging around and stabbing each other is because they're bored. Well, and I started shouting at the radio, Pat, bored? Oh, do me a favour, there's more for kids to do now than there ever has been in the history of humankind.
Well, the first thing I say, first of all, 7 o'clock at night they should be home. They should have finished their homework and in bed at 8.
Well, I think you can whistle for that.
No, you can get it. You can get it if it's important enough to you.
Right. Well, that is true,
yeah. But people don't think it's important enough, and they haven't got the patience. Not all. There are some super parents about. We never hear about those, but there are an awful lot who just give in, and we see things around the village here where, the mum's just walking along with a little toddler just walking behind, and the mother sort of saying, "You won't go on the road, will you?" As if, but not caring somehow.
Right, the Jeremy Kyle generation, they call it, Pat, or
I'll have
at least
to watch this program.
No, don't. You'll get really upset.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Yeah, but are they actors?
It'll turn your brain to fudge, believe me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Pat. Cheers, my dear.
Thanks very much.
Jeremy Kyle must be very proud. It's 9:45. LBC Travel with Karen Mercer.
Well, it's been...
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That's me. Billericay, Andrew.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, I was just phoning with reference to the, is it mosquito thing?
Yes.
Well, in Billericay, we used to have a problem around the station of kids hanging about and spitting on commuters, that sort of thing.
Right.
And so what they did, which I thought was ingenious, they just put loudspeakers up and they were just playing classical music until the early hours, and it just seems to dissipate the kids overnight.
Yeah, somebody was saying that they do that in one of the Croydon bus stations. Would they find that an irritant, or would just the sound of classical music stop them being aggressive?
I don't know. I think it's just... I got the impression it was just because it was so uncool.
Right.
That they didn't want to be around it. But obviously the problem is that, they did dissipate, but they just go somewhere else and probably cause trouble there,
Well, maybe, but if you were like a shopkeeper, you wouldn't care about that. You just want to get rid of them, right?
No, of course, exactly. But my point is that you keep moving people on, and they're going to go somewhere. But I think the problem is it's like a cultural thing where it's just what young people are doing these days, and that's what the problem is, not where they're doing it. It's just the fact they feel inclined to do it in the first place, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
No problem.
Cheers, mate. Ta-ra. Classical music, yeah. I've grown accustomed to its noise. I quite like it now. There's something in it. I discovered it, I did. It's all down to me.
What if the youth like classical music? What are you going to do then?
Well, the Clockwork Orange, of course, was all about youth violence, and I've never been able to watch that film all the way to the end, because I think it's terrible. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the work of Stanley Kubrick, but Clockwork Orange just leaves me cold. Although I stayed in... when I was at university, it was at Brunel University, and there's a scene in Clockwork Orange, and I swear he's in my room in halls on campus, because some of the movie was shot at Brunel University, and although a lot of the rooms in halls of residence at Brunel look the same, they've got that same weird, well, it's probably all changed now, but they used to have the same furniture and so on, but I could swear that they filmed in the actual room that I had in there. That's my claim to fame.
Had you scrawled on the walls?
Of course not.
Ear
no, I was a good boy, I was. Berkhamsted. Ivan.
Hi there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just had an idea that maybe for new parents, when their kids reach the age of 10, that they have to attend a parents' training course.
Well, I think 10 is too late, isn't it?
Oh no, 10's, I suppose, say 7 then.
Parents should have to pass a test before they can actually have sex.
Yeah.
Then they'd pay attention in class.
So then the generation that are causing all this trouble will be slowly wiped out.
Yeah. Or yes, that's right. What with that and the mass culling. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ivan.
That's all right.
No, there is something to say about that, because, I mean, time and time again they say that people haven't got any parental skills anymore. Parenting skills gone out the window. But nobody seems to be, everybody's whining about this, and the government are saying, oh, well, blah, 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 but nobody's actually doing anything about it. Or have I missed that? Are they doing something about it? I don't think they are. They're forever handing out people's privileges and rights, but no one seems to be actually grasping the nettle and doing something about it. Probably because it would be considered so deeply unpopular to the people that are the problem. And there's so many of them. Like all of those people that show up on Jeremy Kyle, and most of the people that watch that show. All of those people, for instance.
I had an idea once.
Did you? That's nice. Go on.
It's a little bit out there, but I was young and foolish at the time.
Yeah.
But this is when the Millennium Dome was empty.
The Millennium Dome, right.
Yeah, and I thought if you put people in there and just left them in there, that they would be forced to kind of create their own society, and in the way that if you don't help people, they're forced to fend them for themselves. So after a while, they would have to learn to get on with each other and make their own rules and stick to them.
Yeah, but that happened in, like, Hurricane Katrina, when they all stuck them all in the Superdome, and then they ended up, like,
point, yeah.
stabbing each other and
throwing each other off balconies, and, yeah.
My idea was before Katrina, so...
Yeah.
Obviously, with hindsight,
Yeah. You are so stupid. Bedford. Hello, June.
Hello?
Yes, June.
Yes. A long time back in the programme, we were talking about what to do with these children who are feral and completely out of control. At the moment, they send them to places where they're cared for. They're probably better off than in their own home. They're banged up with their friends. They create a nuisance to themselves toward us. People who've been in the army and have been punished for misbehaving themselves never really want to go back. How about trying the sort of thing that the army does when people get out of line, instead of cosseting these little feral bastards?
All right, thanks, June.
Okay.
Cheers. Well, that's one thing that does come up a lot. People say, stick them in the army, short, sharp shock, but no politician is going to say that, because it will upset too many people, because... Unfortunately, it's not a small... everybody says, oh, it's a small minority, it's a tiny, insignificant number. But you know what? It's not. There's just loads of them. And the reason why politicians won't back something like that is because there are too many of them, and they'll all vote against them, so they'll never get in. Unless I've missed something here, in which case, kindly set me straight. Because if that's not the reason... that they wouldn't be behind, sticking them in the army or whatever it is, instead of letting them out on bail, or, we'll give you life in prison, you'll be out by the weekend, that sort of thing. Well, what is it then? Why are they pandering to these people? if it's not just because there's so many of them and they won't get any votes? What is it? Why? Why not? You can't tell me, can you? Let's have Goldthorpe. Hello, David.
Hello, Nick.
David.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? I'm from South Yorkshire.
Yes, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a great programme. This subject about capital punishment, to be honest with you, I think it's a great deterrent.
It isn't.
It isn't? Well, I'll tell you what, it frightens me to death, the thought about it.
Yeah, but you're not going to go and kill anybody anyway, though, are you?
No, but if you could put that into a young lad or girl's conscience at a young age, they have to behave themselves, because what could happen in the future if they don't behave themselves, I honestly think it would have a good effect on them.
But, David, if capital punishment was an effective deterrent, then the murder rate in America would be 0, but it isn't.
Yeah, you could say that, but, it's a good point, but I don't really agree with everything what goes on in America, because I think we're influenced in this country a big way with America. You know, it's what they seem to get, we seem to get.
5 years later, yeah. Although with the speed up of modern communications technology, it's getting faster and faster, yeah. But unfortunately, capital punishment is not a deterrent because people aren't thinking about being caught when they're killing someone.
Yeah, and I think alcohol's a lot to do with it, yeah.
Yeah, quite
Alcohol,
possibly.
drugs, and there's no control over that these days.
Well, no, but then there never really was control over alcohol. You can buy alcohol any time you like. You know, we could go back to the bars shut at 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon and reopen at 7. But it won't stop people buying a crate of cider and drinking it in between time if they want to. So banning alcohol or restricting its sale isn't really going to make any difference. That's just people flailing around to try and get some measure that will go down well with the majority of the public, that makes it look as though they're doing something. And that seems to be where we're at, just pretending like we're doing something. Politicians coming on a facsimile of strong, but not actually saying anything that would upset anybody. And by that method, you won't achieve anything. Ain't that true, Rog?
Yep.
Couldn't care less. St John's Wood. Hello, Chris.
Yes, hi Nick, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
I'd like to talk about the attitude of children these days. I'm actually a school teacher from London.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been listening to this show, and I heard an earlier caller who had a recorded thing saying the abuse, the teacher is getting the lesson. We're actually getting that in our school pretty much every day.
Right, why did you become a teacher?
Really for the love of teaching.
And then since you've become a teacher, do you still love it?
No, I'm getting to actually hate children these days after starting to teach. I've only been teaching for the last 5 years, and it's something I'd love to get out of at the moment.
And does that also apply to the teachers that you work with?
Exactly, it does. I mean, we're getting a lot of grief, particularly for things like mobile phones within the schools, with them going off all day long, them chatting on their phones. It's causing a lot of grief to most of the staff at the school.
Mate, I don't know how you put up with it.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to put up with this nonsense.
So, what proportion of the teachers that you work with want to get out?
They do. I mean,
what proportion? What percentage, more or less?
I would say it's about 80 to 90%. To be honest,
that's quite worrying, isn't it?
It is. I mean, about the phones. I mean, we actually just installed a new device in there which tracks the phones in use.
You know, you can get something that will just cut all mobile phones off. But, Chris, you know what? I'm going to have to cut you off right now because we're coming to the end of the show. But thanks a lot, mate. All right, best of luck in whatever career you choose next. Hey, Raj, what have we talked about tonight, eh?
Well, we talked about...
He's going to do his little list tonight. So excited. Go ahead with your bad self. Yes.
The spoils of war.
What was the first one?
Loony leaders.
Loony leaders.
Yeah.
Don't explain, just continue.
Okay. Vlad the Insailor.
Yes.
Smiling and Nurses.
Vlad the Insaner, I think, not Sailor.
That's what I said, Insaner.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Right, carry on.
Do you know what, there's nothing...
Oh, get on with it. Go on, try.
We're out of time.
No, please.
Alcohol addiction. When an occasional habit gets out of control,